what they're prepping us for with these statements from Whoopi Goldberg is that when Donald Trump does begin the process of, I would just say, typical deportation processes, they are going to produce videos and photos, and they're going to claim he's Hitler, and it's happening, and they're going to use this as propaganda to incite violence.
Yeah, AOC crying at the border wall, of course, but because they've done that. The projection is already happening. Everyone's a fascist except for when they're functioning like fascists. And you've seen it. There's no limit to what the Democrat Party will do to retain power. We've been watching that for the last few years. I mean, it's scary stuff. But yes, they are definitely doing. I'm surprised anyone can actually listen to The View at this point with a straight face.
Who are the people who still do?
I honestly, I don't know. It's sort of interesting. I did, when my first book, Triggered, came out, they had me on The View, and it was, I think it was like the 5,000th episode of The View. And, so, they're going a little bit. I actually got, after a while, you fight back and whatever. I actually turned the audience, and Whoopi was there MFing the audience in the commercial break. It was sort of amazing. I wish we could get the footage of that. They'll never allow that to get out there. But it was sort of like they're used to people going on these shows, and they're so desperate to get a little bit of airtime because they're selling their book or whatever bullshit their product they got or whatever it may be. I was there for a book thing. They didn't even ask me about my book. I figured if they're going to have me on there, at least you have the courtesy of that. But it was just an attack session. So then when I sort of went after Whoopi for the, allowing, pedophile Roman Polanski and justifying that, and Joy Behar for blackface, and it was, I just sort of had fun because I just said, what, if this goes really wrong, I just Googled, what are the dumbest things ever said on The View? And it's like, there was a long list, but there was some pretty obvious ones. And, they lost their whole audience, but they still have this sort of, they must have some sort of capture, probably, white suburban virtue signaling housewives that they're able to manipulate with their nonsense because, they're correcting themselves all the time, but, it doesn't matter. They get the hit out there. The media picks it up. It's pushed very effectively through social media as though it's the gospel as opposed to nonsense. So, there's no question that's what they're doing.
Wasn't it Kelly Osbourne that came out and said on The View specifically that we need all these immigrants here because they're going to be cleaning our toilet?
Yeah, and I quote, Donald Trump, who's going to scrub your toilet if they're not here? And everyone else was like, whoa. She's like, no, this is what I mean. But that's the problem. They don't get it.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that there's value to building a wall now again?
Listen,
a big graphene
Joe
wall.
Joe Biden is selling the wall off. Did you know that?
We need a nice, strong
we paid
wall.
for it. We then sell off the components rather than taking, literally, they could have just completed it in the areas that it mattered. I mean, it was clearly effective. You saw the numbers, but they didn't want to complete it. So instead, they paid for the material. Now they're selling off the remaining materials so that you have to buy it again if and when someone else ever takes office. Like, there's literally no... It's like Wuhan lab leak theory. Like, of course it came from the lab. Like, of course this is intentional from them. Of course they want unfettered access to people who are going to be dependent and who will ultimately vote Democrat. Like, they offer nothing else if you're not a dependent at this point.
I get nervous about the deportation stuff because logically it makes sense. But realistically, I see the horror of people with their cell phones recording their mother screaming as she's being pulled out of her living room. And then every day that kind of stuff on social media getting played on NBC and
Now imagine this. Now imagine a video of a woman crying and screaming as she's being pulled from a bank vault carrying a bunch of cash.
Yeah.
We don't look at that crime being committed and go, oh, that poor woman.
Or the seventh time
Democrats
deported
do.
guy that raped women with reckless abandon, or drove drunk for the 5th time in the United States and killed someone's son, or smuggling fentanyl across the border time and time again, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans.
There's a video of a man being arrested in the subway, and the cops are roughing him up, not really hitting him or anything, but they're grabbing his arm, they're pulling it, and he's resisting. And there's all these comments on Twitter, they're like, why are the cops doing this? This man, he didn't even do anything. He was fighting cops.
Yeah.
He jumped the turnstile. They said, stop, we're going to give you a ticket. He fought with the cops. They fought back and arrested him. Yes, that's how you enforce laws.
That's victim crime. This is victimless crime, which is part of what makes deportation challenging.
It's not victimless.
Well,
it is not victimless.
They're technically attacking everyone by displacing us, but realistically,
you have E-Verify. You make it. You create incentives where it's harder for them to do that. Maybe they honestly, you'd probably have a lot of people self-deporting because if they're not able to take advantage of the system.